Welcome to News Express, exclusively brought to you by Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. I am Chukunonsu Modi. Let's take a look at interesting stories hitting the front page this week. Now, the big headline: ambushed, economist Minefield Craves Minesweepers for investment inflows. Sub-headlines: tariff hikes, rising prices, depleting FX reserves, election uncertainties, threats to investment. Second headline: report calls investors to Nigeria's potential for digital infra project. Now, you should also check out analytical commentary, double trouble for Russian ruble. And of course, comment Gregory Cranston writes for Business AM. News as well: businesses rethink on Nigeria Gen Z, visionary voices, COVID-19's lessons for democracies, and executive knowledge series, leaders in the creative process. Now let's bring in Philip Isakwa, the publisher at Business AM, to help us make sense of the headlines. Good morning, Philip.
Yeah, good morning, Nonso. It's good to be back here. A lot of things happening all over the world, especially Nigeria. The economy is moving. Let's see where it's moving to.
Yes, exactly. Now let's go straight to it. Ambushed, economist Minefield Craves Minesweepers for investment inflows. Now, many local and international analysts are worried with the pictures that have been coming out of the Nigerian economy and its investment climate in the last 2 weeks, especially with the deepening of the uncertainties that surrounded Africa's largest economy. Now, with the current global economic misalignments as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war in Europe, analysts are saying that Nigeria's own domestic economic misalignments are continuously being exposed as well. And they're right to worry, Mr. Philip.
Absolutely. You're right. So many things happening all over the world, and all of them having a bounce effect on Nigeria, especially when you look at the economy and see that it is highly import dependent. Years and decades of trying to win Nigeria out of import dependency have not succeeded. So many programs have been put in place. If you there's an article in the paper today written by one of our contributors, about an export-led attempt to pursue an export-led growth program. It's not today. CBN is doing quite a lot in that direction. But it is not something that is new. It's been happening for decades, and nothing seems to be working. So you look at what has been happening in the last 2 weeks. There are tariff hikes. Prices of different aspect commodities and services have gone up. All signs that they are going to go up. You have depleted foreign exchange reserves. And then the uncertainties that lay ahead with regards to elections that are coming up next year. So many things happening that it's a minefield actually, and it's needing minesweepers to get into shape. Because this is a time when investors actually take a deep breath, and look at what is going on and take decisions as to whether to hold or whether to come in or whether to just look away, go back, go elsewhere. And these are not really good times for Nigeria, and from what we are seeing. And so there's quite a lot to be worried about and to be concerned by local analysts and international investors are looking at Nigeria, and they are indeed worried.
True, because aside from this war that has really, pushed it to the forefront, we already had a pandemic that brought out the vulnerabilities of the Nigerian economy, and security too has become another big threat. So, of course, these things would definitely be affecting investors and their sentiment. But I want to know, why are these uncertainties affecting their confidence? Because sometimes things like this happen and they still go ahead with it. So why is this happening now?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're right, and also to say that you could have economies can be going through difficulties, and then investors will still say we're going there. But you look at the trajectory. You can go back to 2014, 2015, when you had an oil dip, dip in oil prices, and
yes.
and then in 2016 you had the first recession that came up as soon as this new government came into place. And then what one happened again. So two recessions in the last 7-8 years. You know, that's the story you tell about Nigeria, and so you had that recession, and then COVID came. You know, so seems to me that there's just always been something coming up. You know, so you had dip in oil prices, you had COVID, you know, and then suddenly you have a war going on in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war that is affecting not just Nigeria, but affecting the world, you know. And but it's that makes it the minefield that we talk about, you know, and it then tells you how really serious, you know, how really prepared or how really equipped is the word to use, you know, that you know, the policymakers or those who are in charge of running the economy are really digging in and being able to resolve for steady the ship, you know. So that is the challenge. So for Nigeria, especially when you have an election, a pre-election year running, and then an election coming up next year, and because you know, there's always this thing they talk about when you speak to international investors and international analysts. You know, there's always this thing about sanctity of investment or even policy. You know, that sanctity of contract, so to speak. You know, and then sanctity of policy. You know, because it is going to be a new government, whether same political party or another political party. You know, they expect that there might be changes, especially with Nigeria, when things are not followed through. Yes. You know, with that coming up, you have investors really concerned. You know, and the next best thing they do is to put a hold on a decision or whatever decision they want to make with regards to investment or investing in a particular territory, a particular country. And we're in that state, you know, that situation right now because an election is coming up, and then you're going to have a new government. You know, if it was just an election that is coming up and then there's a possibility of the incumbent retaining his position, you know, then investors will probably say, okay, something. I mean, if the incumbent does retain his position, then we know how it's going to move, you know. But here you are looking at a whole new set of things that are likely to happen. One is that there probably be a new government entirely, not the same political party, or you have the same political party but a new person whose ideas or what programs or whatever programs he has will want to be particularly different from what has gone past. You know, I mean, there's a lot of complaints all over the place, you know, whether social, economic or political, you know, that's been going on for quite a long time, and then you will expect that the new person would take all of that on board, you know, and and fashion his own progress, you know, to try to create a legacy or a name for himself, you know, and it's likely to move in a different direction. So this is one thing that makes investors look away and say we're going to hold, you know. And if it's really difficult, then they just move elsewhere. You know, we've seen what's going on in the oil industry, where IOCs, international oil companies, are pulling back, you know, strongly on onshore or shallow waters investment, and that gives you an idea of what is really going on or what might likely happen. You know, and then you have a whole raft of insecurity, you know, situations. You know, that in itself, it's really troubling, you know, because there are so many things that some investors want to do. You know, there are investment opportunities in the northeast, northwest, you know, or north central, you know, that investors want to look at. Nigeria hasn't ever tried to put its solid minerals or minerals, whatever, packaged together to attract solid investors. So we have talked here a number of times that growing up, we heard about the tin city in Jos, you know, and we suddenly you are not hearing tin city. So does it mean that there's no longer tin in Jos or in Plateau area? What's going on? I bet that a lot of mining is going on, illegal mining, yes. You know, and people are doing a lot of things. When they talk about oil theft, Nonso, people should be talking about mineral theft, not just the oil. What is happening to gold that they say there's a lot of gold in Nigeria? What is happening to bitumen that they say there's a lot of bitumen in Nigeria? What is happening to tin that people used to boast of, in Jos Plateau State?
Even coal.
Even coal, yes. Of course, you have coal. The problem with coal is that the world is pulling back from the climate stuff that is going on. So people are pulling back, but it doesn't mean that coal is no longer useful, because Russia is still using coal, and so many other places as well. So you have a lot of minerals. So many minerals. So what's going on with the mineral, the solid minerals that Nigeria is supposed to have? You only hear of oil theft. There is massive theft going on with regards to gold. There's massive theft going on with regards to all other solid minerals, and that really is a challenge. So security is an issue, and you have gangsters all over the place in the solid mineral belt. Let's call that area solid mineral belt. Who probably are. That's what we've seen movies, where you have gangsters take over a place. While they do that, they create all sorts of chaos, while the real activity taking place is theft of minerals.
Yes.
So that probably is what is going on in Nigeria. That they're creating a lot of some smoke screen about. It's not that these things are not happening, but creating a lot of insecurity situation, while the real action of stealing minerals, is taking place, and nobody is talking about all of that. So the insecurity is a real challenge for real genuine investors, both local and international, and this is getting really, really out of hand.
Yes, it is getting out of hand, and I agree with you that you're creating, smoke screens, so you don't actually see what is going on the ground. So they're kind of diverting our attention. In fact, analysts are saying that they look at this currencies, everything happening, hitting the economy on all sides, especially, the coming in the last few weeks. And they're right, because the expectations are beginning to manifest. You already mentioned rising commodities prices. We already have inspiring inflation. An example which was used in this article, MultiChoice announcing that it will increase its DSTV and its GoTV subscriptions beginning April 1, but then that has been countered. Traveling expenses too has gone up due to fuel costs and the rest. So much, Mr. Philip, I don't even know where we're going to begin to solve this from. But now, it's obvious that the economy needs a minesweeper to make the field safe for normal activities and investments. So who or what will be this minesweeper? How can we exactly go back to normal?
Well, you see, so with a lot going on right now, both local and domestic, you have the security issues that it's not friendly. It's not investor friendly at all. It's not even friendly for citizens in the country. If government is there to secure primary responsibility, secure lives and property, then that should be something that's in the hands of government, and government has to act beyond much more than it is presently doing. So you have that situation, so you put that in the hands of government, and then you have policy makers, who ought to be on top of the situation. When things are going on in the world, then you position your country, you position your economy, to take advantage. We already knew, we always knew that there was oil theft going on in the Niger Delta region, but until it hit an investor like Tony Elumelu, the billionaire Tony Elumelu, crying out, it seemed as if it was nothing, but he came out to cry out, so. But you haven't had any response from, what you have heard is that a re-echoing of what Tony Elumelu talked about.
Yes.
Government people still saying, "Oh, oil theft is going on. Oil theft is going on," but nobody says we are going to deal with this oil theft, once and for all. So a lot of responsibilities will be obviously with government. Security is in the hands of government. They have control of all the apparatuses of security. And then you then have oil theft. That you wonder. It's interesting that over the weekend, there was even an intervention from the general overseer of Redeem, who talked about the oil theft, and then he asked the question: if oil theft is going on, who are those buying the oil? You should know who is buying the oil. If oil theft is going on, who are these countries or who are these people buying the oil? And if that's happening, are they your friends? He asked that the pertinent question. Which is, if they are your friends, you should be able to be on top of the situation to say, you are my friend. You shouldn't be doing this to us. Or wherever it is. Of course, it's a seedy environment out there. Where this oil is traded. But there's a way of being able to track. In Saudi Arabia, we've seen quite a lot of stuff going on in Saudi Arabia, where every barrel or every let's call it every drop of crude oil that is produced, is accounted for. Because of an elaborate system of tracking what is produced in the country, but you don't have that in Nigeria, and you wonder, when you hear billions and billions that are spent, that suddenly disappear, you wonder why that hasn't been set up, So the sleaze that is going on with regards to Nigeria's crude oil, it's still in the hands of government to put a stop to, But much more than that is ability, it's the strength of policymakers, that the capacity rather of policymakers to bring out policies that address situations that are going on, whether in the economy, whether in manufacturing, whether in the services, or industries, that are suffering from all sorts of situations, you say we talked about power as a major problem that's been on for years and years and even decades. No solution. So everything boils down to policymakers being able to address and then being able to wanting to stop the problem that is going on, and that is really, really something that we should be looking out for.
Yes, that is something. I mean, we've had this conversation over the weeks, and it still boils down to the same government looking at what is going on and settling it. But like you said, this is a pre-election year. I honestly want to hope that something will come out, within this period that they have till they leave. Probably they will do something. Let's be optimistic. Yeah, Mr. Philip.
Yeah, we have to be. I mean, it's a country that we all love. We want to see it grow. We want to see a lot of things happening for the citizens in terms of the what has been put in the country in terms of whether natural resources and human resources. That it should help the country grow, and we expect that. Everything should come together for goodness and to happen to everybody, and that's. I mean, Nigerians don't ask for too much.
Honestly, they
don't ask for too much, and I wonder why. Those politicians and perhaps policymakers, can't see this and just give the little that Nigerians ask for. Want poor, good drinking water. You want electricity to flow, and they are ready even to pay for it. You want your refineries to be working so that your fuel is locally produced because you have crude oil. Those basic
amenities
things that Nigerians want. I mean, they are so resilient. They work on their own. They believe so much in themselves. To get to catch their own fish. So government has no trouble with Nigerians as citizens. It has trouble with itself.
Yes, it does have trouble with itself. All right, let's move to the second headline. It says, report calls investors to Nigeria's potential for digital infra projects. Now, a report by the Boston Consulting Group, that's BCG and EDHEC Infra, has revealed that along with some other countries, Nigeria offers huge potentials to attract digital infrastructure projects, but untapped markets for fiber optics investment. Now, international investors will definitely be peering hard at its findings to see how they can tap into the space. This huge potential to attract digital infrastructure projects, what can it be linked to, Mr. Philip?
Well, you see, over the years, the way investment flows have gone, the population is critical. Investors are looking for markets. Markets is actually the word. So when investors outside look at Nigeria, they look at markets. It's not the beauty of a country. They look at markets, where you have the market. Potential is huge, population is huge. And then you have there's a story there about businesses rethinking their practices as a result of the Nigerian Gen Z lifestyles,
Yes.
And this is what you're talking about, because fiber optics is about the internet and the way communication is taken to the people. So because there's still a lot of room for a push into the Nigerian economy, the thinking is that it hasn't been scratched.
Yes.
Investors, international investors have looked away, trying to develop other markets, especially markets in the Western world. But they come to a point where those markets become saturated. Everybody, you get to some markets where they say everybody has a phone, everybody has access to the internet,
Yes.
everybody has access to. So what are you coming? What are you bringing? So they continuously look at different ways to reach out to those markets. But back in Nigeria and some other places, they are saying that this report is saying that it's a virgin. That there's still room for. Away from the traditional way of communicating, fiber optics, is the what you call the one that can meet the current digital what's called infrastructure demand. So there's still quite a lot of room for those infrastructure projects, to be delivered in Nigeria in particular. So we focus on Nigeria because you have Nigeria, you have Ghana, you have South Africa, Brazil, and other parts of Asia. And these are places where this push hasn't been established. Recall that what's it called? The Canadian or US company? That came in to buy Funke Okpeke's company the other time.
Yes.
For $320 or so million. Because they see potential in Africa, in Nigeria and across West Africa. So this is what is driving. This is what's likely to drive that interest. It's almost like drawing attention. The report is drawing attention of investors. You have been looking away for so long. There is another market, here, that is still in a virgin state.
Yes.
that you should look into. So it's a good report, and we saw this and we said you can't put this under the table. You need to draw attention to it. And our purpose is to get investors to be looking at this kind of reports and seeing the potential that they offer. And the opening up of the eyes that they represent in terms of where the opportunities are. So Nigeria, with regards to digital infrastructure projects, Nigeria is still a virgin state. That this needs to really be put in place. And that's what this report is saying.
Yes. Yeah, this is definitely a good report. I agree that this aspect has not been even scratched, talk more of tapped into. But then, in the first story, we spoke about investors uncertain. Now, I'm wondering how they would also want to invest in this kind of thing with the uncertainties that we have. It's one thing to, show them that, okay, this is a virgin market you can come and tap into. But we also need to convince them that it's safe to come here. You understand me, Mr. Philip?
I do quite none. So investors factor in a lot of things when they're putting their interest on the table or putting their documents together. It's not. It's one thing to say, oh, the market is open or the market is available. It's another thing to say, oh, what time do we go into the market? This is an eye-opener report. It opens the eyes of investors to see that there are opportunities, especially with different 5G. 5G has been rolled out a little bit, but there's still a whole lot of things to be done with 5G in Nigeria, and that's fiber optic, one thing that fiber optic would drive, So in the midst of the crisis that we see, investors will factor in, and of course, Nigeria is a big market. It's a large expanse of land. While there's rumbling going on in some parts of the country, there's calm. Of course, we worry about a lot of things, but there's calmness in other parts of the country. So there's always a place to start from.
True.
And then and wait out to see when things simmer down over where there's the trouble over the trouble zones, and then you push into those places. One thing you should take on board is that there has been a lot of challenge with the last mile delivery of the internet, in Nigeria.
Yes.
And there's a lot of cables that have come into Nigeria. We have MTN that brought cable. We have I think. We have the old Nitel, the original fiber cable that came in from Europe. You then have I think Main One also has its own. Yes, Main One has one. And that there's quite a lot of cables that have come in, undersea cable. But they haven't made that penetration that we thought that they should have by now. Because we still have this what's it called the internet and this aspect of technology, only limited to some major cities, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and a few other places, So there's quite a lot of places that last mile delivery of this digital or whatever technology, hasn't reached, So. You will have those places, where you can quickly deliver on this project, and the investors will be looking at everything and be factoring in all of this. We won't go here. We'll start from here. We won't go to those places. But we'll start from here. There's still a huge market as far as we are concerned. As far as these analysts are saying, and then it just takes for them to look deeply at what the report is saying and see how they can come into the market.
Yes, true. Okay. Like you said, this is a really good report because I read through, and honestly, I feel investors will pair into it and begin to tap into the market at the right time. All right, thank you, Mr. Philip. We'll definitely see how the stories develop this week.
Thank you very much, Nonso. Have a great day.
You too. That was Philip Isakpa, the publisher, Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more.